Hi, I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna. We're the hosts of the New Life Perspectives radio show.
We're also the creators of the Cogno Movement System, where we help you rewire your nervous system so you can rewire your reality.
Join us each week for great conversations, amazing guests, and cutting-edge information on health, consciousness, and the keys to transformation. Welcome to the New Life Perspectives radio show. I'm Bill McKenna, and I'm here with
Liz Larson. Hello, everybody.
All right. We are so excited about this episode that we're going to do today because it's a life changer. And we're going to be talking about something that is extraordinarily simple, but will change your life if you apply it, and you're going to get your mind blown. Now, before we start, we have big news. We're actually taking Cogno Movement to the UK. We have our practitioner training, the live portion in person, happening here in Kingston, just south, I believe, of London. Hopefully I got my geography right. And it is, Liz, I think it's June 4th?
4 through 6. It's a 3-day training, this live portion. Yep.
And if you're interested in Cogno Movement and becoming a Cogno Movement practitioner, you can contact us at info@cognomovement.com and see if you qualify to come. Anyway, it's super exciting. The in-person training portion of the program, this is just one small component of the entire program, but the in-person is particularly exciting because everybody meets in person and you get to do things that you can't do online or on a video.
Well, and people get a lot of change for their own selves, because during that live training, you're working sessions, real Cogno Movement sessions with all the other practitioners. So real magic happens during those events. They're one of our most favorite times of the year because of the sheer magic that happens at those events.
Well, yeah, not only that, but it's those relationships that we get to be in person and hang out with our favorite people, our practitioners. And not only that, but something else that is really kind of always a surprise is we usually have a guest. And the guest is someone who would like to have a Cogno Movement session. So we have a volunteer victim, if you will. We had, I believe, last time, a NFL player who had some very severe, as you can imagine, by the time you get to actually be in the NFL, you've had, well, shall we say, maybe a few concussions. And the absolute amazing things that happened when we built back his mental acuity, amazing things that changed for that particular individual. And it's live. It's not like we're staging it or planning it, like, oh, this is going to happen. These are like miracles, it's not really miracles, it's science, but it feels like a miracle that you're witnessing right in front of your own eyes. So I don't know who the special guest is going to be this year in London. Matter of fact, if you're listening to this and you want to be that special guest to actually get an experience, we don't charge anything for it, but we carefully choose who's going to be the person or people that we work with one-on-one with all the practitioners. You can imagine it's a particularly joyful event when you get to witness the impossible right in front of your own eyes. Anyway, this is so exciting. Again, June 4th through the 6th, uh, just outside London, Kingston, UK. Uh, let us know with the email info@cognimovement.com.
So in that vein, we are talking about eye position, eye movement, and how it creates access to the brain. This is really what Bill and I do. You know, it took us so many years to figure out how the heck to talk about this thing. The bottom line is it's eye movement, physical movement that allows you to have much, much more access to your brain and allows you to create changes in your mind, in your emotions, in the way that your body and brain processes information, takes in information, with your mobility, with your mental acuity, with the way you learn. Like the list goes on and on. It's everything. It's how we take in the world and what the product of that brain processing puts back out into the world. It's everything. So this time we want to talk about something that most of us almost don't do anymore as we're grown-ups, and it's eyes up position. Moving your eyes up. There's so many huge benefits of this, right, Bill?
You know, I really cannot remember as a child growing up ever really moving my eyes up. So what we mean is your head is level and straight, but your eyeballs themselves are up. Now, when you do this, there's a very different part of your brain that gets engaged. They call it the prefrontal cortex, this front area of your brain, which is associated with executive function, compassion, generosity, gratitude, universal love, and also disconnects from the other negative emotions. That's really a key thing that happens with a simple eye up position. And there's so much more to this. You know, I'm so grateful to UK Health Radio Network that we got this time, because we're going to be able to explore this in detail. You're going to get so much out of this. Stay through the entire episode.
Well, let's start with the other side of this. Do you know that there are so many brain disorders that are obvious through the eyeballs? So many. And people just never, ever think about this. That the single thing with the eyes that will not move upward are indicative of many, many serious brain disorders. One of them happens to be autism. Many children with autism cannot move their eyes in an upward position. In fact, many children with autism don't move their eyes a lot at all. There is a connection that is missing that doesn't allow them to move. But once their eyes do start moving, a lot can change in their bodies. People with Parkinson's or dementia, it's another very significant thing. The eyes will not move up. People with, well, they don't move in a lot of directions, but up is a big one. People with multiple sclerosis, a lot of times the eyes, won't move into that up position. People with big concussions, their eyes don't move. We know a doctor will diagnose a concussion through the eyes. That's how they tell, is whether or not one pupil is larger than the other and whether or not the eyes can track. When someone is drunk, their eye movement is all messy, right? They use a pen to track to see if you're drunk or not. Drunk has everything to do with how, or high has everything to do with how your brain is functioning and how you're reacting to the world. We know that when the eyes are not moving well, when you're blurry and can't see well, the brain's not functioning, and then you don't have reflexes to match that. So there are so many things about eye movement that actually relate to serious problems in the brain. So you might extrapolate that if you could simply exercise eye movement, simply exercise the muscles and the way the brain takes in information through moving your eyes, that you might be able to have a healthier brain. Is that a possibility? In our work, we know this is true. We know that you have better mental acuity when your eye movement is better. You have better hand-eye coordination, athletic performance, and balance when your eyes are moving better. We know that you can have better perspective and perception when the eyes are moving better. Even just an elderly person, we know that, they don't see things the way other people do. They won't take in other perspectives. Why? Because their eyes are not moving and seeing other perspectives. It's really, really simple. So, don't you think this is fascinating that so many of these problems with the brain and body correlate to many eye positions, but this one specifically, the eyes up position?
It's absolutely fascinating. And what it's all comes down to is our actual brain. It turns out the eyes and the brain are one. You know, Dr. Andrew Huberman out of Stanford, he's a neurologist, ophthalmologist, I think. Hopefully, I got that right. He's a researcher. He has something called Huberman Labs at Stanford. And he talks about this, that the eyes are actually the only part of the brain that you can see. That if you were to imagine the brain as like a plastic, and you stretched it, part of it you'd stretch down and it becomes the spine, and the other part you stretch forward and it becomes your eyeball. And in fact, from a neurological perspective, that brain tissue is in your eyes. So it's really quite fascinating the way this whole system integrates. And what Liz had just brought forward about actually the visual, being able to look at someone physically and ask them to move their eyes up, and are they having difficulty there? Is that a difficult thing to do, to hold your eyes in the up position? Well, that means that because the eyes and the brain are one, or you're actually have a part of the brain that needs a little bit more connectivity and performance. And when it happens, not only will it be reflected in your eyes, but the rest of your life as well, as one could imagine.
Yeah, it's really, really true. And there's so much to it. It's so fascinating, Bill, that each of these little aspects of the work that we do, you could go on for ages. You could write 5 books about it. If you are not able to move your eyes upward, like let's say you're standing and you move your eyes upward and you fall backward, that's indicative of even another problem. So this is a thing, we stop moving our eyes when an illness comes, when there's a brain injury or a brain problem, but we also just stop moving our eyes as we age, as we're looking at the computer, as we're reading a book, as we have glasses on that focus our attention forward, we just stop moving. And when we stop moving our eyes in that way, our brain stops taking in information in that way, and it stops communicating with the body. So if you're standing and you move your eyes up and you're falling backwards, you now understand that your body is not connected in that way. Your mobility is limited, right? So we take a look at all of these eye movement and connection to the brain and correlate them to muscle movement, nerve connectivity, coordination of the whole body. So if you move the eyes up and you were to even just put your hands on the back of your head, you would realize how many muscles it takes in the back of your head and neck just to move those eyes upward. If you're not moving those eyes upward, you're probably not even activating those muscles in the back of the head and the neck at all that communicate with the rest of the body. So it really starts to become a big deal, this little tiny eye movement, and becomes another reason why having the ability and the knowledge of exercising the eyes actually helps with your overall, not just brain health, but body health. Don't you think that's so interesting?
It's fascinating. You wouldn't think it, and we weren't taught it in high school or grammar school. Like, hey, if you want to exercise your brain and get smarter, it has everything to do with your eyes and your eye position. That's that, and your body. If the coaches that I had in high school, with the football team, or basketball team, volleyball team, you name it, all those teams, they would absolutely love to have known this, because they would have done all of these exercises knowing them. They would have done the exercises because they love winning. And they were all about performance and winning and those sorts of things. But it reaches into literally every single aspect of life, because that is the center point of our entire lives, is our brains.
It's true. All right, we're already at our 15-minute mark. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, let's share some of the awesome stuff that can happen when you move your eyeballs up. Just some really great ways to feel good. So let's hear from the good folks at the UK Health Radio Network, and we'll be right back. And we're back. We are talking about eye position and how it relates to your overall health. So let's talk about, you've already said that we do connect with some of the frontal lobe with the eyes up, but let's talk about some of the obvious stuff. Having your head kind of straight and level and moving your eyeballs upward. What does this position indicate if someone's looking at you in general? What are some of the basics?
Well, one of the basics here with this eye position is that they may, it's not a rule, but they may be looking for a new idea. They are open to a new concept or idea. This position, a lot of the negative emotions become detached. It doesn't mean that they are don't have an ability to reason. It just means that a lot of the negative resistance goes away. There's something else that is really very critical about this position that I think everybody here, no matter who you are on the planet Earth, can use. And that is, if you want to stop crying, look up. And you hold your eyes in that position for 1 to 2 minutes, and the tears will stop. This is such an interesting thing. If you're giving a speech at your daughter's wedding, or if you're just like me, and I can't help it. I saw Liz's daughter walking up the aisle. I can't even hardly talk about it now. I got to look up. I have to look up. I remember seeing her walk up the aisle, and it's like, oh boy, there it goes. So I had to lift my eyes up. I don't know why that always gets me, but that one always gets me. And if you look up, which I'm doing right now, it's turning it off. I can think about her walking up the aisle, and I can kind of feel it starting to well a little bit up, but it turns it off. I'm here, and I can totally do it. So this is a value. Maybe you're going to talk at somebody's funeral that you love, or whatever it might be. It doesn't mean that it's forever. You know, you just there's an opportune time to let it out, and maybe not so opportune. So this is something that you can use right here now today. You stick it in your back pocket, and it helps out. I had the funniest. I got to tell a funny story. There was this one nun who um, was working, and there was a death in a family, and the daughter was distraught and was crying so much and so loud in church that they were trying to get through the funeral, and she just sat beside her and said, "Okay, I want you to kneel down, keep your head down, but look up at the cross." And she and this the particular nun, she knew the neuroscience. She knew the neuroscience, and and boom, it turned off. They got through the funeral, and then they can, let it out. You know,
Yeah, it's so interesting. So we'll move into that. So eyes up and chin lifted just slightly. And you often see it with hands up, is that praise and worship kind of position. It turns on that feeling in the body. And it turns on those higher attitudes and ideas. It's such an interesting thing. The other one is, if you see somebody with their eyes up, their chin up a little bit, and their hands straight up, it's I win. It's the I win position, victory. We all know it. It's so obvious. If someone were to show you a photo of somebody in that, they just won something. They're like, woohoo, we did it. And it turns on that great, great feeling. So if you're a person who's wanting to feel that more, getting those eyes up, moving the chin up just slightly, not all the way up, but just slightly, getting the hands up over the body, you'll immediately turn on that woohoo type sensation. It's so interesting how this eye position connects to emotional state, right? I think the other thing about this is just knowing when you give the prompt, hey, think about what you're going to do next week. The eyes will naturally sort of move up and to the position of future, right? Think. We almost always put our finger on our chin or our hand on our fist on our chin and look up to access idea. It's an amazing prompt. And also, when you're in thinking mode, you're in that state of natural wonder. Natural expansion state happens in the eyes up position. Now, I want other people to think about, when was the last time you did this intentionally? Just moved your eyes up. There's one more image. And now, in the age of like AI images, imagine for yourself somebody outside in the summer having a great time, maybe taking a walk. What is their eye position? It's almost always up, right? Looking at the flowers, looking at the sun, looking at a bird. It naturally conveys to us happiness and joy. That's so fascinating.
isn't that neat? And the people back in the day, 1950s, 1940s, 1930s, you would hear them say, "Hey, look up, look up,
Yeah. Oh,
look up, things are getting better, look up, you know, keep looking up, man." Everybody knew it, but they didn't know the real neuroscience behind it. It reminds me of an experience of that I had once. I was in Barcelona in my previous life of a high tech, and there was a brain scanner that a Korean company had, and I was like, well, let's just see about this, and see what happens. So I put the headgear on my head, and and the Korean guys who barely spoke a lick of English, and I don't, my Korean is about 2 words. So I didn't really know, but well, what was going on. But I just decided to look up and go into a feeling of universal love, a love for all of humanity and everything that ever was and ever will be. Just feeling love for that, which your eyes will normally go upwards when you do this. And my eyes are closed. And all of a sudden, I hear the Koreans going crazy. They're like, oh, anyway, I opened up my eyes after doing it. And they showed me it was in the front side of my brain. They had never seen that where it lit it up. They can show where the activity is. But this is part, you're getting into it, but part of it is the eye position. And I remember these pictures. Many people know Yogananda, autobiography of a yogi. Well, if you look up pictures of him online, you'll see when he's there and he's got his eyes rolled up. His eyes are up. He's telling you something. He's showing you something. You can access those incredible levels of consciousness by rolling the eyes up. You're getting into that particular part of the brain, which is beneficial, right?
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of this episode and in last episode, but these muscles around the eyes that we stop using, they really have a lot to do with the rest of the body. And so if you think about the muscles it takes to roll your eyes upward like that, and the space that it creates under the eyeball, the stretch and everything that you get in there. If you try this and take a big deep breath in, roll your eyes a little farther up, but let your shoulders drop. You get this whole huge release in the body, but you also get this wash of like, oh, relaxation, right? I think, yoga, you made me, why I brought this up, made me think of Yogananda, yogis, and how often the meditation practice goes along with movement and stretching and relaxing or tightening muscles. And this is like a mini yoga move, right? Getting those eyes up into your head, really rolling them, really getting them stretched, taking a big deep breath, relaxing the body and letting the eyes push farther. It just creates this lovely feeling. And when we're talking about raising our consciousness, which yoga is doing as well, and Yogananda is doing as well, spirituality, um, relaxation, all of those things, having the body physically relax while the brain is in a state of accessing euphoria in a way, it creates a lot of great feelings in the body. It releases a positionality, right? It allows for much, much greater perspective. Like even just that piece, we could probably talk about for years, how just that simple release of those muscles in the head and neck and eyes correlates with how the body reacts and feels and ultimately heals. I think that's a big part of it too, how it ultimately allows a release of energy for the body to have more energy to relax and heal.
That's super important. As our body relaxes, it allows it to heal. And so much of cognitive movement is just that. We cause a involuntary relaxation response. But there's been some so amazing discoveries, Liz, that you've made about causing the body to relax through the eyes up position. And we're talking about your actual flexibility, where the
Yeah.
body had been locked up, and then when you do the eyes up and bend over, whatever it might be, the body relaxes. Now, I want you to talk about that, but before you do, I want to point out there's an intersection in between all of the different aspects of life. We talked about Yogananda and his eyes up and being universally connected. That is a state which requires you to let go of your physical body. And so, this eye position, as you let go of your physical body, your consciousness, of course, you're going to be more flexible. So, for athletic performance or just whatever, this is super. So, tell us about that, Liz, and tell us about your discoveries about eyes up and getting physical performance.
Well, I mean, so it could be a whole show in itself, but one of the big things to understand is that these muscles in the eyes are literally connected to all of the rest of the muscles in the head and neck and shoulders, all down the front of your body, all down your back. So they're muscles that get just overlooked. We don't think about them. The other thing is there's a lot of important stuff in our bodies right behind the eyes and that are attached to these muscles, like the sphenoid, that is the cradle that holds the back of your eyes, and your pituitary gland. And this bone in your head, it actually is movable, it's flexible. So if you go to craniosacral therapy and they're touching your head and they're focused on the bones in your head, and you do this eye movement, pushing the eyes way, way up, you actually can feel that bone adjust. And it can get very twisted inside the head as well and creates cranial torsion, muscle strain, all the way down through the body. So one of the things we discovered was that if a person simply puts their chin down and rolls their eyes up and does this action of taking a big deep breath, relaxing the body and stretching the eyes up in that chin down position, that it has a tendency to release all the muscles in the head and the muscles in the neck, and then down the spine as well. So let's say that you're wanting to touch your toes. This is a really simple one. If you put your chin down and roll your eyes up while you're trying to touch your toes, the better you are at holding those eyes up, like you're looking at your own hairline, the deeper your stretch gets immediately, automatically. It's like a great party trick because it simply allows for a cascade of muscle release. It's if you were to look at one of those anatomy posters, you put your attention at the head, you'll see how many muscles intersect with the eyes, and it starts to make perfect sense. We're up against our time limit here. Let's take our next break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what's possible simply by using the eyes up position, but moving your neck position just a little bit. Hear from the good folks at the UK Health Radio, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we're talking about something that's so simple but fascinating, and it's rolling your eyes up in your head and affecting the whole rest of your life. So we're talking about athletic performance. And what we discovered is, and working with cranial sacral specialists and physical therapist specialists, that in moving the eyes in an upward position, and it's not just straight up, it's straight up with the head in different positions, straight up with the eyes more left or more right, that we can affect all the way down into the ankles. We can affect the back, we can affect the hips, we can affect the body. And it's just simply about allowing the muscles in the eyes and head to affect the rest of the body. Really interesting. It creates a natural relaxation response. The cool thing about this is when you create a relaxation response in the body, you actually naturally bring down inflammation. So inflammation is a big thing that bothers all of us our whole lives. But athletes especially, inflammation will create pain and lack of motion and that kind of thing. And simply knowing how to release your eyeballs by moving them up in the right pattern, you can actually release the inflammation, that bring down, regulate the nervous system, put this body into state of calm, and start to slow that inflammation and allow the muscles and the body to relax enough to actually reposition itself. You don't even have to do anything. The body just naturally sort of moves out of torsion. So for athletes, this is huge. I've worked with baseball players to release their shoulders. Actually, we've worked with so many people to help release the shoulders, but simply through the eyeballs, just releasing the tension in the head and neck. We've helped one of our practitioners run a 5K who actually had some severe back and knee injuries, So just simply by this, getting the body out of the stress and tension through the eyeballs. To me, it's like one of those things that is just magnificent in its simplicity. The other thing is moving those eyeballs up, stretching them upward, actually helps the face look younger. It helps create a lift. Exercising the muscles around the eyes actually makes people look younger. We see it all the time, don't we, Bill?
That must be why I look like this.
It must be.
That's just a joke. But it's true. We've actually witnessed this with so many of our practitioners, and it's like, oh my gosh, some of them are like, hey, we have an age limit here. There's no teenagers.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're clearly they're not. But oh my gosh, they kind of reverse, and you're like, whoa, to the point of they're in their late 30s, looking like a literal teenager.
Well, your mom is one, right? In her late 80s, and your family thinks she's had a facelift, but it's not.
Oh yeah. Oh, not just my family. It is all the people around. There's literally, companies they do business with, and everybody is like, is she using, I think she had some work done. I think that was the word they used. She's had some work done. Or, oh no, she's using some special lotion or something. But my mom's laughing because, she ain't used anything, and certainly never, got cut on or anything. So anyway, that is pretty funny. This episode, I think this is like one of my favorite episodes we've done. I want to bring up a little something also, because we're on this subject. I think it's so very important for everybody to realize what they're doing with their cell phones and iPads.
Yeah.
All of us, myself included. Liz, you have to get on this bandwagon too. I've seen you do it just like me. We all have our cell phones in front of us, and we're looking physically downwards at them. Not only are we looking downwards at our phones, but there's a very limited left to right movement that we do. So we have limited scope of movement from left to right, and our eyes are downwards. And people are doing this repeatedly every day, all day. Now, this may sound like, oh, it's no big deal. But I'm here to tell you it's a very big deal. It is when the iPhone came out and everything's on it. Your phone, your email, your text, your internet, everything. So your social media, everything is drawing your attention to this device and your eyes down. At the point in time when this came out, I had made a prediction that the rate of people ending things permanently for themselves, I can't use that word, but you know what I'm saying. I said it's going to go through the roof. And why? How did I know that? Because I knew that if we're not moving our eyes and they're in the downward position, This is the position of sadness. This is the position of I can't find my way out. This is the position of limits, stuck, and nobody. Tell me the last time that you saw somebody take their phone and go like this, other than doing a selfie for a second. The selfies are the only saving grace here, because everybody wants to look better. But other than that, nobody does it. You'd never read your email like up with your eyes up. Nobody does it. Anyway, here's the thing. The information finally came out. There is the adoption of the iPhone or that type of phone, and the rate where people end their whole thing for themselves, a 1-to-1 correlation.
Yeah.
It has gone through the roof. Everybody knows people that have done that, and the phone has something to do with it.
It's so true. It's not just the phone, it's computer. The eyes are often, really either straightforward or slightly down looking at computer or tablets. Even when we're driving, we are straightforward. So many of the activities that people used to do that would move their eyes in an upward position, we just don't do anymore. Almost not at all. And so this is one of the things, just simply noticing, acknowledging that, and taking an equal and opposite action. If a person every hour during the day rolled their eyes up in their head, took a deep breath, let their eyes stretch upward, and let their body relax, I would guess that people's moods would increase dramatically. The ideas that they have would increase dramatically. The feeling of wellness would increase dramatically. If you took it to another level where you let your eyes be up and then just let them move back and forth across the ceiling, first of all, it feels great. It feels like, you haven't done it in years. Like you feel like, oh my God, I didn't even know I had those muscles in my head. The relief that it creates. And then taking a big deep breath on top of it really just it feels great. And I would imagine that people would find they would have a lot less stress. So I would say if you're in an office where you're working on a computer or a phone all day long, set your timer once an hour to move your eyes upward and just deep breathe. If you gave yourself a nice stretch with it at the same time, man, you would be that much farther ahead of the game. Another thing is when you go outside, let your eyes move upward. Take a walk and let your eyes move up to the clouds or up to the trees. Or if you're in a city, up to the buildings. There's a couple things that happen. One, it creates that great feeling. Two, it also lets more light in your eyes, more natural light. This increases our vitamin D levels. People don't realize that you get vitamin D through your skin, but you get a lot of your vitamin D in through your eyeballs. Even that alone will naturally increase your happiness, but it'll also stimulate genius ideas. It will stimulate inspiration. And who of us doesn't want that? The biggest complaint we get is people are being stuck, right? I'm stuck. I'm stuck in a relationship. I'm stuck in a job. I'm stuck in a money state. I'm stuck here, there, around the square. A big part of that is that your eyes are stuck straight forward or down. They don't move left, they don't move right, and they certainly don't move up. And I know it sounds almost outrageous that simply knowing how to get your eyes moving again could change your life, but it gives you access to your whole brain, your whole neurology, your whole body. It gives you direct access. And simply knowing how to create an equal and opposite force in your life has the potential to change everything. Literally all the things, right, Bill?
Everything. And uh I was just thinking about all the people watching TV in bed.
Mhm.
Where are your eyes? Your head's on the pillow and your eyes are downward. That TV's in front of you. It's another forcing of that eye downward. I think this was such a valuable uh, information episode for people with a practical thing that they can do to change their lives today.
Yeah. Let me give everybody one more little thing they can do. So people have a hard time sleeping, right? Watching TV or looking at phones is a big problem. So here's something you can do. And this is eyes closed. And it's actually takes some real concentration. So it's part of the magic. With your eyes closed, if you start with them looking down, it's a hard thing to do. Start with your eyes closed down and just start to stretch them left and right with them closed. And then move up to like your ears, left and right, and up to your eyebrows, left and right. And then, all the way to where you get to straight up. Try closing your eyes and moving them straight up. Like it is a weird feeling. But before you know it, your body's relaxed, you're asleep, your dreams are better, your brain's harmonized. We only have like 2 minutes, but you used something similar, Bill, when you had an accident and you were trying to put yourself to sleep in the hospital, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a whole nother technique that I used for that, but I knocked myself out over and over and over because it was too painful to be awake. But there's something I really want to get as the last thing for everybody, and that is we're going to be in London, actually just outside London, coming up in the UK, Kingston, right? I believe June 4th through the 6th, and it is our practitioner training. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, what the heck? I'm getting value. I love this. And you want to make your life better and others' lives, people's better. This is just again, a couple of grains on the cognitive movement beach. There's thousands and thousands of techniques that we have, and they are all used in concert to change a person's life in every aspect. Again, our brains are the one point where everything converges, and you can learn how to make things better for yourself. Your life doesn't have to be hard, it can be joyful and full of performance, financially, athletically, everything, and even sleeping better. So we'd love to see you there. Info at cognomovement.com. Info at cognomovement.com, and see if you qualify to become a practitioner. It's an amazing program. The in-person part of the program is just a small portion of the overall program, but still, it's so valuable and so fun to actually be there live. If you're somebody who's now listening to this in a different part of the world, we also have an upcoming training here in March in San Diego, California for practitioners. Liz, what are the dates on that?
I believe that is the
11th through the 14th?
yeah, 11th through the 14th. I believe so. Yep.
March 2025. And if you're somebody who's reached into the archives and listened to this way later, just contact us and see where our latest training is. This is the funnest thing you could do. It is just a joy to help people, and it's constantly evolving. So, Liz?
All right, everybody, that's it for this week. Till we see you next time, get those eyes moving up. Deep breathe and move those eyes up and see what changes in your life. And reach out to us. Let us know what happened just from knowing this single thing. What does it change in your life? We'd love to hear it. Until next week, everybody, be safe and be well.